fantasy football season. And here's a few quarterbacks I would bench this week. The first guy is Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. So right here, Daniel Jones, he's been pretty decent so far this season in the first 3 weeks of the season. Week 1 versus Denver, 67 passing yards, a touchdown, 27 rushing yards, and a touchdown and a fumble loss. Week 2 of Washington, 249, a touchdown, 95 yards, and a rushing touchdown. And Week 3 versus the Falcons, a little bit of a down game, 266 passing yards and 39 rushing yards with a 2-point conversion. But right here in Week 4, it's a tough matchup for him and the 0-3 Giants at the New Orleans Saints that give up the second least amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks. And right here, Daniel Jones, he's still in a transitional phase here. He's still not winning ball games for his team, even though he's been pretty decent for fantasy football. But this week versus a tough Saint defense who take advantage of young quarterbacks so far this season, he's a guy I'm going to this week. The second quarterback I'm going to bench is Justin Fields of the Chicago Bears. So it looks like Justin Fields is starting this week, even though he's a little bit of banged up as well. But it looks like Andy Dalton is going to be out. And so far in his first NFL career start last week for Fields, 68 yards passing versus Cleveland and 12 yards rushing. So he was holding the ball a lot. He got sacked a whole bunch of times. And I know this week it's a good matchup on paper versus the Detroit Lions, but the Lions defense just came off a game where they held down Lamar Jackson to only a mediocre fantasy day. So right here, after taking a beating, was Fields in Week 3. Here in Week 4 versus Detroit, I don't think he has that great of a fantasy day, and there's way better options to start this week. So right here, I would bench Justin Fields unless you're in the deepest of leagues or 2 quarterback leagues. The next quarterback I would bench is Ben Roethlisberger of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So right here, so far this season, it's been a struggle for the Steelers. They easily could be on the year 0-3, but they pulled out that victory in Week 1 at Buffalo. So Week 1 at Buffalo for Big Ben, 188 passing yards and a touchdown. Week 2 versus the Vegas Raiders, 295, a touchdown and an interception. And Week 3 versus Cincinnati, 318 passing yards, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. So Week 4 at Green Bay, on paper, it's a pretty decent matchup. But I think this Packer team, they're going to shut down Big Ben in this offense for most part here. And Big Ben, he's just not contributing for fantasy owners or really getting his receivers involved as well so far this season. So with a pretty tough matchup, even though I know Green Bay gives up the 4th most fantasy points to quarterbacks, in this situation, I just can't trust Big Ben, especially on the road after 2 mediocre home games. So that's a few quarterbacks I would bench heading into Week 4 of the fantasy football season.